Welcome everyone to the webinar From Good Girl to Fully Woman, Healing Patriarchal Stress in the Midlife Body. These are the 5 things we weren't told about the patriarchal conditioning and how it hijacks our nervous system and how the return to her retreat will begin the healing journey. So, just before we get started, just a quick quote. When women remember and rise in their feminine power, we don't just change our own lives, we change what is possible for everyone. Women inherently are connectors, they're about community, they're about looking for the good for all concerned. And so, whatever we do for other people will change the world. But just before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. Just to note that this session is for educational purposes only, and it's not a substitute for medical, nutritional, or psychological advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Any tools or practices that are offered here are mostly for integration, for self-reflection. And just please use your own discernment. If something makes sense to you, please keep it. If it makes if it's total garbage to you, just throw it away and leave it. If you're experiencing any kind of mental health concerns, significant emotional distress, or medical issues, please look for the support of the appropriate licensed healthcare or medical mental health professional. Perfect. Okay, so my name is Ayanna Teresa Chen. I am a massage therapist. I have a massage therapy business called Dest- um, excuse me, I have a massage therapy business called Massage Evolution, and I've started a retreat business called Destination Wellness Retreats. I have about 30 years of experience. At the time of this recording, I'm at year 29. And in that time, I've seen more than 22,000 treatments, or I've done 22,000 treatments, and I've seen thousands of clients in that time. I'm a massage therapist, as I said, and a somatic practitioner specializing in midlife women's health, their mobility, and nervous system regulation. I'm a guide for women who are ready to unwind the impact of culture that we have inherited, which is this patriarchal culture, and unpack that from their bodies, reclaim their feminine power, and live deep from self-trust instead of over-functioning. I'm also a teacher, I'm a space holder, and a mentor who weaves science, somatics, and spirituality into grounded practical practices that women can experience in real life. And so the vision for the presentation today is to help high impact mature midlife women understand that the exhaustion, the anxiety that we're feeling, the self doubt are intelligent responses to the culture that we are living in. And it's not a personal failure. And to introduce simple somatic tools that begin to calm the nervous system and reconnect women to their bodies, intuition, and feminine power. These will be very basic techniques that we will be doing, but it will just at least give you a starting point. And also to invite women into deeper in-person work with me on Return to Her in St. Lucia as a natural next step in unwinding the patriarchal conditioning from the inside out. So over the last few years in my practice, one pattern has become very clear. On the outside, most women are looking great, they're put together, they're looking fine. All this looks great on the outside. It's only until we have these conversations with each other, especially on the treatment table, that we see that a lot of us are exhausted, we're anxious, resentful, or just simply feeling numb. And we often think that this is our fault. But you know what? It's just the conditioning and the culture that we have inherited that is causing these issues. So before we continue on, let's just take a deep breath in, sit comfortably or lie comfortably. I'm going to close your eyes. And if you wish, you can put your hand on your heart and put your hand on your belly button if you wish to ground yourself. And you're going to take a deep breath in, letting in the light from the sun come down through the top of your head, through your face, your neck, shoulders, down your arms and out the hands and fingers, back up through the hands and fingers, arms, across the shoulders, through the chest and torso, down through your hips, your womb, your legs, down to the lower legs, feet, and shoot that energy out through the toes and back up into the foot, lower leg, upper leg, hips, your womb, your torso, chest, across the shoulders, down the arms, and shoot the energy out through the fingers, back in through the fingers and hand, the arms, the shoulders, the neck, the face, and let that energy hold. And now we're going to expand our consciousness out into the universe. We're going to open our heart wide and extend that energy out through the room that you're in, through your home, through your neighborhood, through your city. Keep expanding that energy from your city through your state or province, across your country, through your continent. And keep expanding and expanding that energy throughout your entire hemisphere and across the world, through the atmosphere, through our galaxy, and out through the universe. Expand that which you are, and then bring that energy back from the universe, the beautiful light energy you are, through our galaxy, through our Earth's atmosphere, across the world, back to your hemisphere, your continent, your country, your state or province, your city, back through your neighborhood, and back into your home and back to your heart. Perfect. And now let's just shake that out. And shake your hands, shake your shoulders. Take another deep breath, and let's continue on. So here we are, the culture we inherited and patriarchal stress. Essentially, we've inherited a culture that is old and outdated, in my opinion. It's focused on overproduction, just working, 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 doing, and hyper masculinity. It says that your worth is based on how much you do, how much you produce, and how much you give. Your emotions are inconvenient. Whether you express them at work, maybe it's in a relationship, friendship, it's just seen as too much. If you're resting, it's seen as lazy, and sometimes we feel like we always have to get up and be doing something every single moment. And a good woman is considered accommodating, pleasing, and always available. This is what we call patriarchal culture, and it's a system that protects certain types of power. This nonstop productivity, working, control, dominance, sex, greed, money, and ultimate destruction. It runs smoothly when women stay small, when they're tired, when they're focused on others and not themselves, when we're completely distracted and overworked and undernourished. And in other words, basically it's keeping us in survival mode. And over time, these rules, they just don't live out in society, but these experiences come back into our bodies. It goes back into our nervous systems, our thoughts, and our spiritual lives. And so I've heard this term called patriarchy stress disorder. And I like it because it says what it is, but at the same time, I don't like the idea of just pathologizing everything, but it still is a clear indication of what's going on. So, patriarchy stress disorder says that it's an accumulated impact of living in a world that depends on women staying exhausted, self doubting, and over responsible. And of course, it's not a medical diagnosis, it's just a way to name the invisible stress that we're feeling, this constant bracing and hypervigilance and pleasing and performing just to feel enough. And this is an inherited collective trauma that's been inherited from many women over thousands and thousands of years. And it says that visibility and power are dangerous. And you know why that is? Because women, we are powerful as the wonderful beings that we are. Energetically, this shows up as constricted expression. So from a chakra level, it is shown as a constriction through our throat chakra. We might have collapsed boundaries, which will show up as a solar plexus constriction, and an overall dimming of our radiance and our life force. And this is in a time when we are coming into ourselves. We are, becoming wise women. We've, accumulated years and years of knowledge. We've made many mistakes, and we've learned who we are more so in our skin. And now this is the time to express. But the culture wants us to stay small. The other way that it shows up as overfunctioning, just doing 120% everywhere. Again, people pleasing, saying yes when every cell in our body is saying no. It's the anxiety, the burnout, and that deep sense that it's not entirely safe to be ourselves. And again, this hypervigilance, this nervous system reaction where we're always on and looking out for safety in areas that could be of danger to us. If any of this feels familiar, I just want you to hear this clearly and know this, that there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with me. Our body has been trying to keep us safe within this system for a very long time, and it's never been built to for our own thriving. We may not be able to change the system overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. The only thing that we can do is change who we are from the inside and trust that when more of us change who we are and develop a new sense of who we want to be, that this will trickle out into the world at large. So I like to take the example of the office worker. This is something in my practice that I see often. A lot of the women and the people work at desks, they're on computers, they're working, they're tied to their work and they don't take breaks. But before we go into that, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the health doctors. And this is my list of health doctors. It's things that we need to do. These are things that are necessary and basic towards our human survival and thriving. So it's breathing consciously, it's having good hydration, sleep, stress management, movement, nutrition, being out in nature and in the sunlight, spiritual connection, and social connection. So let's just pop back to this office worker. I want you to see how this woman is positioned. She's hunched over her desk. She's collapsed down into her rib cage. Um, and you might notice this in yourself as well. The rib cage is collapsed, the diaphragm, which is your breathing muscle, that one's collapsed. Shoulders are turned in, the neck is facing forward, the eyes are focused on the screen. So think about this. Think about what kind of position this is, where we're constantly in this flexed and protective position. We have this blue light, shining in our eyes all day, despite having blue. What are those glasses called? Those glasses that filter out the blue light. So just take a moment and just think about that, and think about yourself and what kind of positions you keep in many hours in your day. So, can you consciously breathe, or are you consciously breathing when you're in that position? Most people are not doing that. And especially when your diaphragm is collapsed the way it is, it cannot have full deep breaths. So when you're collapsed like this, you're taking shallow breaths, and those shallow breaths are keeping us in the sympathetic firing, so that fight or flight response. Hydration. Yes, some people do keep water and do keep liquids by their desk to make sure they stay hydrated, but there's still a lot of people who do not, and do not take enough breaks to get up and get a drink, get a snack. And with dehydration, it causes a whole host of problems, but especially for the body, and it can dehydrate the fascia, so we can feel tight, we might feel pain, we might feel restricted. Sleep can be disrupted as well if you're thinking about work all the time. And again, this is being in this productivity mode on a regular basis, that our sleep might be disrupted. And especially being in menopause or perimenopause, our sleep is affected already. Might be thinking far into the future, thinking about what we did in our day, and then thinking beyond the future and what we need to do, going through our to-do list. So this all disrupts our sleep, and also plays into the stress management. Having the inability to sleep well, having the pressures of work, of family, career, and all of the things that society's put on us increases our stress level. So a lot of people sometimes cannot manage their stress effectively, and this can cause its own host of issues. When you're sitting for hours a day like this, for years and years on end, you're obviously not getting enough movement in your day. Even though you might be exercising regularly, the sitting, the 6, the 7, 8, 9 hours of constant sitting every day is detrimental to our health. We get tight hips. We feel inflexible. We're not moving as well as we want to move. And again, we're in pain. We have tight spots, etc. Hopefully your nutrition is good, but sometimes people, when you're in that stress state, are not optimizing nutrition as you should. And when you are stressed, you might go towards those comfort foods like the sugars and the fats that feel very comforting, but over time may not be optimal for your health. So sometimes nutrition takes a back seat when we're stressed and in productivity mode. When we're also sitting at our desk, we're probably not getting outside as much as we can. We're not seeing sunlight. We're not getting out in nature. And really, the whole point of all this is just to show that in this world, we have to be very conscious about how we take care of our health, because if we don't take command of it, the world is going to do that for us. And then lastly, spiritual connection. It can or cannot be there. Social connection, again, may be there, may not be there, but it just depends on the person. But the point, again, is we have to be extremely tactical. We have to be very strategic and very conscious about making sure that we are taking care of our physical body, our mental, spiritual, and emotional body. So once again, let's just take a deep breath in. Maybe some of these have been triggers for you. Maybe some of these are light bulb moments for you. You recognize yourself in that woman at her laptop. And so, if this is you, just recognize where you're feeling that in your body and to know that your body's communicating to you and just letting you know and giving you information that all is well and that it's just giving you information. And thank your body for telling you what's going on in your body, where you feel restriction, whether it's in your chest, your throat, your hands, wherever that may be. Thank your body because it's there, it's your ally to let you know that all is well and that, you know what, we just need to do something about it. So now that you've felt in your body, you've thanked your body, I want you to take an inhale for 4 counts and then an exhale for 8, pursing your lips as if you're blowing your air through a straw. Perfect. And again, in for 4 counts and exhale for 8, pursing your lips as if you're blowing through a straw nice and slowly. Perfect. So now I just want you to take your hands, lace your fingers together, and push them up towards the sky. Give your arms, give your hands, give your upper back a nice stretch. And you can do any kind of stretching at this moment. You can take your arms, go side to side. If you're sitting in a chair or on the floor, you can twist your body to one direction, twist it to the other direction. Do some head rolls. Bend your head back to front, ear to shoulder. Just release some of that energy in the body. You can stand up now and even just do some hops and shaking out your hands, shaking out your arms, twisting your shoulders, shaking your head, and just start discharging some of the energy that might be pent up in your system. Good. And now take a seat again. And what you're going to do is you're going to lace your fingers behind your head or behind your neck, and your elbows are going to be splayed out, pointing to the left and to the right. And we're going to do a quick nervous system reset. Keeping your eyes or your head facing forward, you're going to move your eyes only to one side, holding them hard to that one side. And what you should feel is the urge to yawn or the urge to sigh. And this is the nervous system resetting itself. Once you felt that, bring your eyes back to center and then turn your eyes only to the other direction, keeping your head facing forward, and then wait for that sigh or that yawn. Perfect. And then we can do that one more time. Excellent. And so this is a quick and easy way to reset the nervous system. Another thing you can do is, if you're someone who likes to listen to music or you hum to music, humming can be also very soothing to the parasympathetic nervous system. Because the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body, it runs alongside the voice box. So any kind of vibrations from humming stimulates that vagus nerve and can help calm it at the same time. Okay, so those are a couple of tools that you can use on your own. I sometimes like to use the nervous system reset with the eye movements just before I go to bed, just to release some of the energy, any pent up stress that has occurred during the day. Perfect. So now we're grounded once again. Let's look at the 5 things we weren't told about patriarchal stress and what to do about it. And where it lives in our body, it's in our nervous system. It lives in our mental, emotional body, our physical body, the spiritual, as well as the energetic body. So, the one thing we weren't told is that we are trained in this world to live in survival mode. The system thrives on it. When people are disconnected, when we're living, especially for women, living for others first, constantly on when we're supposed to be off. And then the stress that comes with being in survival mode, it's always linked with pain, it's linked with inflammation in the body. For some people, they develop autoimmune issues. And when it's happening on a prolonged basis and we're not taking care of ourselves, it can lead to disease. The body ultimately forgets to be soft. The second thing is this idea of perfectionism and overachievement as trauma responses. It's in the idea that our worth is in what we do and how hard we do it, and not in who we are as people. These trauma responses avoid things like criticism, and it makes us feel abandoned. The other thing is in our spirituality. We're told that our spirituality and our intuition are basically ungrounded and should be doubted because there's no scientific basis in it. It's just a feeling, so it must not count for anything. And what happens is that we end up second guessing our inner knowing. We mute our emotions like anger or grief, and we end up staying in roles that drain our soul. The fourth thing is that the idea that strong women, we can handle all things on our own. We're the superwoman. And there is this idea still, I think it's, breaking down. But I know in my generation, this idea of being the superwoman who does everything, who's successful at anything, she doesn't ask for help, she avoids vulnerability. And what happens is that it becomes a soul level loneliness and this tendency to withdraw and self isolate because we can't do it on our own. We need the support of each other. And the last thing, one of the most important things I believe is that our nervous system, this is something that we weren't told, that our nervous systems are shaped by our own life and the generations of women who came before us. And so a lot of information is now coming out, scientific studies about how the trauma and the behaviors and the biology of our ancestors, our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, any traumas or any experiences on a beliefs level or biological level become imprinted or programmed in our DNA. And these behaviors get passed down through time. And so, what we want to do is once we recognize what these things are, we want to stop them in our tracks and change them. And hopefully, what I'm doing today will be the starting point for you to do that. And so, when we recognize and stop those patterns, stop those loops, we hopefully can change the outcomes for the generations that come after us. But also on a spiritual level, what this does is it also changes our past, not only our future, but it also changes our past. So the behaviors, the situations that our mothers, grandmothers, great great grandmothers could not change in our bloodline, we are taking care of it in the present moment for them, which then changes the outcomes from the past. So that's an interesting concept to look at. But this again has been proven in science. So now, how do we solve these issues? Well, my solution is the return to her retreat in St. Lucia. To me, this is one of the natural solutions to healing patriarchal stress. And now, this could be my retreat, it could be any retreat, but ultimately, we want to break energy with the world that we live in day to day, with the life that we live in, and have a space where we are supported, that's nature filled, and where we can recalibrate our system and cause transformation. But before we do that, I'm going to dive into some stats. This consumer survey looked at 6,000 people who were interviewed, and 72% of them reported feeling tired right now. 22% said they were very tired. And really and truly, with all the things going on in the world is so tired. And it's not only from a lack of sleep, but also a lack of space to breathe. And we're tired in ways that sleep can't fix. The survey also looked at where people feel tired most. So, top of the list is physically, then mentally. 25% said emotionally, 14% socially, 8.5% said they have this sensory overload, 7.7% said they're creatively blocked, and 6% said they feel spiritually disconnected. They also found in the survey that exhaustion isn't just physical. It's 44% of it is due to family responsibilities, 40% due to work demands, and 60% of people say that modern life is designed not to allow true rest. Again, this idea of productivity all the time, being on the time, working, 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 doing, doing, doing. And really, it's hard to rest when we are always on. And then they also looked at the impact of travel on well being, and they found that 89.2% of people recognize travel as a uniquely effective way for achieving deep rest across multiple well being dimensions. 67% said it improved mood, 52% it was giving them a fresh perspective, 37% said it improved their sleep, 34% said it created more gratitude. 31% said it helped them connect to nature. And the last 28% said it boosted creativity. But what type of travel specifically caused you to rest the most? And 80, sorry, not 89, 49% said a nature-based travel and 22% wellness focused travel allowed people to rest the most. And then after that, it was city breaks, culture focus, adventure base, and digital detox. So at the bottom here, you're going to see where the source of this survey came from. So for those who want to take a look at that and research that, you're more than welcome to do so. So now, why are we choosing St. Lucia? Well, number one, St. Lucia is a naturally beautiful island. It has the Piton Mountains, and it's also considered a volcanic island. They have the beaches, they have rainforests, they have the mountains, they have the flora, the fauna, and just a beautiful, beautiful setting. It has a warm and welcoming people. It has lots of spiritual significance. We have cultures from West Africa and the indigenous um, Indian and Native cultures that were on the island before the West Africans arrived. It has a really rich cultural tapestry. So you have the influence of the West Africans, of the Europeans, of the Asians, and then, of course, of the indigenous people there, which blended into a beautiful cultural tapestry. Again, the topography is stunning. The nature is restorative and healing. The climate is ideal. It's warm pretty much all year round. It's a safe and easy place to be. And it's a place for women to reconnect with themselves. In fact, St. Lucia is the only country in the world named after females. So that's just an interesting tidbit. And so this retreat is happening at the BodyHoliday, which is an ultra all-inclusive resort that is focused solely on your well-being, with attentive staff that are highly engaged and, catering to your needs. It gives you that time and space to reflect and relax. And at the BodyHoliday, they have this option where you get free 15-minute spa treatments on the full days that you're there at the resort. And I think there are about 10 to 13 of them, if I'm correct. And they're there for your relaxation and your awakening. We have beautiful options for cuisine and also the catering of your different dietary needs to your food choices. The rooms are Caribbean inspired with beautiful blue and green tones, beautiful beaches, 18 acres of gardens and walking paths, lots of sporting activities, the only Ayurvedic temple in the Caribbean, and lots of classes to support your health and well being, of course. And of course, why return to her retreat? Well, this retreat that I'm running is a transformational retreat for women in their 40s to 60s who are ready to stop abandoning themselves and begin living from their bodies, their truth, and their feminine power. This is not only a vacation, but it's designed as a deep reset. We offer gentle somatic practices that work for all bodies, all movement types, a nervous system education that's simple and used in loving language. Lots of time in nature, lots of time to rest, time in circle with other women. We also have guided rituals to release old roles, claim the woman who you're becoming. I'm also programming 8 60-minute movement, meditation, breath practices during our 7 days together. It's a highly movement oriented retreat. So we do things like fascial release, dance, play, lymphatic drainage, walking. Slow somatic practice, stretching, you name it, it is in there, but it's all meant to calm your system down. And this group is intended to be very small, very intimate, so the transformations can happen on a very personal level. And it's a way for all of us to get to know each other. So only 6 to 12 women are permitted on this trip. Also, return to her will create a nervous system that will experience what safety and softness feel like. We have real tools that you can use at home in under 5 minutes. You have a deeper sense of self trust and clarity about what's next in your life, awakening to your vitality, prioritizing your own need, experiencing liberation that comes from restorative practices. And again, the deep immersion in nature, staff support, and nature support. Again, movement focused to have you drop into your body, and excursions to support your health. So we'll have a herbalist visit. We're going to have chocolate making. We're going to go to the sulfur springs, and we're going to be in nature quite a bit. However, this is not going to be an overly programmed retreat. We're going to have lots of things that we will be doing, but there will be lots of time for rest and restoration. And sometimes with these trips, interesting excursions might come up, interesting experiences. So we want to keep room for being spontaneous as well and not so rigid. So, what are the next steps? As you know, and as I've said already, this trip is being curated in a small, intimate group. And these are for women who are ready to embody this work deeply. And if you feel the pull, you can message me. Wherever this video is posted, and I will reach out to you personally. So I have some upcoming programs. At the time of this recording, it's February 24th, 2026. Mid-March, probably around the 18th or so, the 16th of March, thereabouts, I'm going to be hosting another webinar called All About Energy. And then on Sunday, March 22nd, I'm going to be hosting an online retreat about 3 hours, which will welcome in the spring equinox. And this, again, is geared for high impact women, turning winter visions into living in your feminine energy. So I would like to thank you for participating. Thanks for watching this seminar, and please reach out wherever this video is posted. If you'd like more information, let's have a conversation and see if this is right for you. And I look forward to seeing you at Return to Her St. Lucia. Bye for now.